A groundbreaking investigation by 10 Investigates has prompted a federal lawsuit and lawmakers demanding change. I'm Jennifer Titus. It was a year ago when this press release came into our newsroom, just a few sentences long, saying an inmate had died. That was it. Shortly thereafter, we learned his name, spoke to his wife over the phone, who at the time said she was not ready to speak with us quite yet. But she did want answers. Little did she know what happened minutes before her husband's death.
His name was Timothy Peters. When he was booked into the jail, he was immediately placed in our medical wing. That followed not long after with him having some issues with bodily functions. There is bodily fluids. A spit hood was placed on his head to keep any projectile vomiting or spitting or anything like that from impacting the deputies. I think it's important to know that these are not, thick pieces of cloth. They are very, very sheer, and even if wet, they should allow air to pass through. From the time we actually entered the cell till the time CPR was started and life-saving measures was a total of about 21 minutes.
That clip you just saw was video we were told we could not have at first because it was exempt from disclosure by Florida statute. That clip, you can tell, was edited down. It was just 9 minutes. So we asked for the entire unedited version. Our request was denied until our lawyers got involved. We watched the entire 21 minutes and had more questions.
Spit hoods is the topic of today.
Yes.
Do you remember clean spit, bloody spit?
It was a lot of like everything. At first 2 were put on,
Okay.
and then we brought it down to 1.
You brought it down to 1?
Yeah, because you're not supposed to have 2 on there.
We went through that video to the sheriff's office investigative summary regarding Peter's death. In the report, the medical examiner noted she was most likely going to be ruling this as a homicide since the inmate was wearing a spit sock.
There's
Yes.
a short duration. He was wearing 2.
Very short duration.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, and that was because he was spitting up blood and stuff. So.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it was coming through that shield.
The sheriff denied our interview request, but did allow us to interview Shelby Bishop. And you've been here since
February of this year.
So she wasn't present during the Peters case, but did say she could speak on jail policy regarding spit hoods.
It's a case-by-case basis. It's not something that gets put on every patient, but if it is something that we need to be able to protect ourselves, protect our deputies, protect the patient themselves from harming us so we can, yes, we will.
What about a second spit hood?
Studies have shown that it really doesn't show any significant changes in vitals. If it is necessary, then yes. If it's necessary, again, it's a case-by-case basis.
Prior to our interview, the sheriff's office sent 10 Investigates a copy of the study she mentioned. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego studied 10 healthy people that knew what they were signing up for. The study also mentioned researchers did not replicate certain cases, including when a person is agitated, restrained on the ground, or when other bodily fluids are contaminating a spit restraint device, such as blood or emesis, which is throw up. Have you seen anything where a spit hood has been used after pepper spray and that there's been no sort of difference in vitals or anything?
For specific studies, no, but I can tell you that our policy, they do get what's called decontaminated prior to having the spit net placed.
That's not what happened here.
So spit nets and things like that, again, I don't know much about the actual case, just generalities of what we do today.
But here's Dr. Dan Woodard, an emergency medical doctor in Florida.
One spit hood is perfectly capable of blocking respiration and causing asphyxia. And the other point about decontaminating a person, obviously you can't decontaminate the airways, which is where the respiratory secretions are coming from. So That's also unscientific and irrelevant.
A policy should be informed and shaped by incidents in the field, but at what cost?
Roy Bedard is a former law enforcement officer and now a consultant for agencies.
It's difficult sometimes, I think, to imagine scenarios that it really takes the real world to show you this can happen, because we're not creative enough sometimes to think about the things that might happen. And so our policies tend to fall short.
When it comes to spit hood policies here in the state of Florida, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement told us they don't have one. When we reached out to agencies in our area, those who use spit hoods had policies that vary. The Polk County Sheriff told us their policy is to use common sense.
Sometimes they're placing it over people's heads and the person starts to vomit, or they're spitting out blood, and then they can choke on their own blood or their vomit, and that can cause them to asphyxiate or die.
That's civil rights lawyer Neil Galawat. He's represented families in cases from Washington to New York where spit hoods were used and people died.
The goal is to safely take the person into custody, not to kill the person. And if there are apparatuses or things that are being used that are doing this, they need to be better educated about that.
We also asked FDLE back in March for the number of cases here in Florida where someone has died and a spit hood was involved. By mid-October, still no answer. So we started researching. That's when we found Valerie Linsenbiegler.
I really don't get to talk about much because it's almost like some people treat me like as if he didn't even exist.
Valerie wanted to talk about her son, Daniel.
An awesome kid. He was such a sweet little boy.
She says that boy got into some trouble later in life and ended up in the Clay County Jail. And 10 days later, he was dead. The medical examiner listed Daniel's death as a homicide. The cause, asphyxia.
He didn't deserve to die.
Daniel was one of the 5 cases in the state we uncovered where a spit hood was used and a person died.
When you found out that he was pepper sprayed and then a spit hood was placed over him, had you ever heard of a spit hood, or what did you know about a spit hood?
I've seen it. It's just a form of torture. It really is. I mean, if he wasn't even spitting, he couldn't even breathe. They didn't even decontaminate him before they put the hood on him. You know, they just sat there and let him, because I guess he was telling them, I can't breathe, I can't breathe.
Investigations by the Sheriff's Office, FDLE, and State's Attorney found no wrongdoing. But the Clay County Sheriff's Office paid Valerie and her family a multi-million-dollar settlement.
Were you surprised that they're still using these spit hoods and the fact that they're still using pepper spray and spit hoods inside our jails together?
Yes, because something was supposed to change, you know, in Daniel's name.
When he was in the shower, and I finally got a chance to look at things, is he still wearing the spit mask hood?
Yeah, because he was still spitting.
He was still spitting? Okay.
Back in Hernando County, investigations into Timothy Peters' death also found no wrongdoing. The medical examiner finalizing the report, the cause of death, undetermined. The Internal Affairs investigation did recommend modifying their spit mask policy to not allow the use of multiple masks unless exigent circumstances are involved.
I took it off.
You took it off?
Yes.
And what was the reason for that, do you know?
Because when he wasn't moving and stuff, and we're like, oh, he doesn't look right. So that's when I just took it off of him.
And as you just saw there, we knew there were more cases to uncover, just like Tim's. How many other people have died where a spit hood was involved? We could not find that answer in any database. So we partnered with the nonprofit, the Marshall Project, putting together a first-of-its-kind nationwide database, as well as uncovering a lack of studies and policies when it comes to the use of spit hoods.
It's Daniel and his sister.
Every swipe,
He had a love for animals.
every detail of her son Daniel,
And that's him there.
Valerie Linsenbiegler remembers.
Good-looking young man, too. It's almost like he's with me. I'm sorry, hold on a second.
10 years ago in a Florida jail, Daniel died. His autopsy report says the cause of death was asphyxiation. Court records uncovered by 10 Investigates show prior to his death, he was pepper sprayed and put in a spit hood.
I guess he was telling him, I can't breathe, I can't breathe.
That was in 2013.
Something was supposed to change.
In 2020, there's Gregory Edwards.
Gregory Edwards is a deceased military veteran that lived here in Brevard County.
He died in the Brevard County Jail. According to deputies' reports, prior to his death, he was pepper sprayed during a scuffle. And then, as you see in this video, a spit hood was placed over his head.
It was sad. It was heartbreaking. It was maddening, frustrating.
It definitely has caused some fatalities.
Dr. Dan Woodard testified in a civil trial connected to the Edwards case. He says adding a spit hood plus a contaminant like pepper spray can cause someone to asphyxiate.
I think you can see this in extremely dramatic fashion in the video of Gregory Edwards. You graphically see the spit hood being sucked into his mouth as he breathes inward, meaning that there's a great deal of resistance to his breathing.
In a year-long investigation, 10 Investigates partnered with the Marshall Project, putting together a first-of-its-kind database that identified more than 30 people across the country who died in police custody after a spit hood was used.
And going through all of these reports, Libby, we are noticing a trend that it's never just the spit hood that's being used as the only form of restraint.
Right. There are cases with pepper spray, restraint chairs, and in the case of Ben C. DeBaca out of New Mexico, officers actually had him in the prone position. So in this ME report, they were saying that the spit shield could have readjusted while officers were struggling with them, and that could have been what ended up killing him.
The documents are not easy to come by. We scoured through court records, autopsy reports, and records requests. This request to the state of Florida took 10 months to get, with help from lawmakers to track down answers. Buried inside, the autopsy report about a man who died inside the Lee County Jail. The ME writing the hood could have acted as a seal, not allowing Damian Foster to breathe. He had blood on his mouth, just like deputies reported Timothy Peters had. He died inside the Hernando County Jail. You see in this video, Peters was first pepper sprayed, and then a spit hood was immediately placed over his head. Minutes later,
can you notify a major case in forensics of a inmate death at the jail? Or I'm not sure if he's pronounced yet.
The head nurse at the Hernando County Jail agreed to sit down with us, although she was not employed with the jail at the time of Peters' death.
I can tell you that our policy, they do get what's called decontaminated prior to having the spit net placed.
But going back to the video, that is not what happened here.
Would you ever put a spit hood on somebody before they are decontaminated from that pepper spray?
If they're going to put our deputies or our medical staff at risk, yes. Put one on them to get them there. A medical professional is going to be with them, decontaminate him or them, and then put a second one on that's cleaner.
But you would take that first one off?
Correct.
Because in this case, that first one wasn't taken off. The second one was put on top of that.
Again, I can't speak for the case, but when they go to get decontaminated, they can't get decontaminated with the spit net on.
Our joint investigation also uncovering a lack of policies, training, and studies on the use of spit hoods. This study, presented to us by the Hernando County Sheriff's Office, has what experts call a potentially fatal flaw. It was tested on 10 healthy people, monitored at all times.
The study attempted to simulate the presence of normal saliva on the hood with a normal person in a sitting position, breathing with it over their heads. Many of those factors are simply not likely to be present in an actual restraint incident.
For Valerie, she hopes more is known about the device before another family is left embracing just memories.
He didn't deserve to die the way he did.
I would love to see policy changes preventing spit hoods, especially in combination with chemical agents, not only statewide, but nationwide.
And it was the release of the video of her husband in jail that 10 Investigates obtained exclusively that gave Julie Peters the answers she was looking for. Now, for the first time, she was ready to speak. She was ready to tell her story and ready to take action, filing a federal lawsuit against the Hernando County Sheriff's Office regarding her husband's death.
That was him, just laughing and kidding all the time.
For this interview.
Hi, Captain.
Hi.
We were inseparable. We did everything together.
Hi.
Julie Peters wanted us to learn about her husband, Tim.
I just miss everything about him. Probably the most is his laughter.
And Tim's dad wanted to make sure everyone knew the kind of man he was.
Him and I talked every morning. He'd call me, we had a routine, we'd laugh, start the day off just... I miss my boy. He did not deserve that.
That his father is talking about is what happened here inside the Hernando County Jail.
I'm sorry. It angers me the way they did things, you know?
The family said Tim had only been in trouble one other time.
We have friends that are law enforcement officers. He respected the law.
But in April 2022, Tim was arrested, charged with aggravated assault, resisting arrest, battery on law enforcement. Deputies said he appeared intoxicated and was incoherent. His family says he had been on a drinking binge and was in the middle of a mental health crisis.
That just wasn't Tim either. So during that whole time, that was not my Tim that was there.
His wife hoped he was being taken to a psychiatric hospital. Instead, he was taken to jail. After 48 hours in custody, she got a call from a hospital nurse.
She kept saying, "You need to come now. You need to come now." Like, what do you mean? I thought he was in the detention center, waiting for me to bond him out. What do you mean he's in the ICU?
At this point, all Julie wanted was answers.
What I was originally told was that they were going to move him. He became agitated, and they were going to move him from the cell that they had him into a more comfortable cell for, I guess, someone that was going through a mental health episode or agitated, very agitated.
She didn't know what really happened until 10 Investigates obtained video showing the events leading up to Timothy Peters' death.
I didn't know any of that until I'd seen the video. When I saw the full video, then I just couldn't believe it. I was just so angry, and just so mad.
Our investigation uncovered Peters was not only pepper sprayed, but at one point, 2 spit hoods were put over his head.
I was just yelling at the computer, "Do something for him. Do something for him. Help him out." I mean, you can tell he was in such an awful state, and it wasn't getting any better.
She contacted attorney Thomas Robinault.
They come in, and rather than give him any treatment, psychological treatment or medical treatment, they pepper spray him in the face. And it takes them 3 attempts to get the pepper spray directly into his face, and then immediately they put the spit mask on his head. What did they think was going to happen? You have to decontaminate an inmate after you pepper spray them before you put a mask over their head. It's common sense. It's policy in every jail throughout the country.
Robinault says the video also shows a deputy pushing down on Peters' neck.
It was excessive force.
Robinault is no stranger to jail deaths involving spit hoods. He represented the family of Daniel Linsenbiegler in a multi-million-dollar settlement against the Clay County Sheriff. Linsenbiegler died of asphyxiation.
I thought our society would get better. I thought the jail system would recognize what happened and take steps to protect inmates, but they just didn't. And there's no uniform policies. That's what we need.
We would all take all the dogs up there and play and go hike on the trail.
Julie says change is obviously needed. All she has left of her husband is photos.
I just miss him. You know, I miss everything about him.
Tim Peters says he just wishes the phone could ring one more time with his son on the other end.
I just love Timmy so much, and I miss him so much. All the conversation that we have every day we talk. I miss that so much. I don't know what else to say about. I mean, I could think of a million things, but how do you sum up somebody's life in 5 minutes?
The lawsuit filed April 11th names 11 people, including the sheriff, as defendants. We reached out to the Hernando County Sheriff's Office about the lawsuit. They said, "We are unable to provide a comment on cases that are in litigation." You can take another look at that Hernando County Jail video that we fought to obtain and learn even more about our full investigation. Just go to 10tampabay.com/10investigates.